All right, so get ready, because today we're going way beyond, those cheesy little green men and flying saucers.
Yeah.
We are diving into some serious stuff.
Right.
You sent us a document, and it's called UFO.pdf, straight from the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this is not your typical alien conspiracy theory stuff.
Right.
This is some serious stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
So the big question here you want to know.
Yeah.
Are these UFOs? Are they a real threat? What do we actually know about them? And how seriously should you be taking all this?
Right.
And I gotta say, after going through this document with you, I can see why you're asking.
Yeah.
It is dense, it's loaded with technical jargon and some pretty wild claims.
It is.
But that's why we're here, right?
Exactly.
To break it all down.
Yeah, to make sense of it.
And make sense of it for you.
Yeah, and one of the first things that jumps out at me is just the sheer scale of this investigation.
Right.
This wasn't just a couple of guys with binoculars.
Yeah.
We're talking about a highly classified special access program.
Okay.
Meaning only a select few even knew it existed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they called this
They called it Immaculate Constellation.
Immaculate Constellation.
Yeah.
And what was its purpose?
Its purpose was to collect imagery and intelligence on UAPs,
Okay.
as well as something called ARVs, anomalous reproduction vehicles.
Anomalous reproduction
Yeah.
vehicles. Okay, so they weren't just watching these things. They were trying to figure out how they work.
Yeah,
Maybe even replicate them.
that's certainly a possibility, especially when you consider the program's focus on national security.
Right.
I mean, think about it. They were concerned enough about the potential threat posed by these UAPs to create a dedicated program
Right.
shrouded in secrecy.
Wow.
So that tells you something right there.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so this wasn't just about grainy photos
Right.
and shaky videos.
Yeah.
What kind of evidence were they gathering?
They were using some seriously high-tech equipment to get a clear picture of these UAPs.
Like what?
Instead of just relying on eyewitness accounts,
Yeah.
they used advanced sensors like forward-looking infrared FLIR,
FLIR.
which can detect heat signatures even in darkness.
Okay, so they could track these things even if they were trying to hide in the shadows.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
And, this high-tech equipment allowed them to analyze the UAPs in ways never before possible.
Right.
They could determine their speed, their altitude,
Right.
even subtle changes in the atmosphere around the object, ruling out things like birds or weather phenomena.
That's incredible. This is where it starts to get really interesting for me, because the document details
Yeah.
some truly bizarre encounters that were captured using the sophisticated equipment.
Right.
For instance, there's a report of a cuboid formation witnessed by military personnel in the Central Command area.
Wow.
So imagine multiple metallic orbs maneuvering over the ocean,
Okay.
merging and splitting,
Yeah.
creating this illusion of a cube in the sky.
It's not just the shapes that are strange,
Yeah.
it's the way they move.
Yeah.
This cuboid formation, for example, was observed changing configuration in ways that defy our understanding of physics.
Right.
We're not talking about conventional aircraft here.
No.
You know.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Then there's the equatorial triangle trails sighting from the Northern Command area.
Okay.
A triangular craft was spotted hovering above a ship, emitting trails that seem to indicate electromagnetic interference. And before you ask, no, it wasn't swamp gas.
The potential electromagnetic effects are a recurring theme in this document.
Okay.
It suggests that some UAPs might be capable of disrupting or interfering with electronic systems,
Right.
which is a whole other level of concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't forget the large disk. Using clouds as concealment,
Right.
observed in the Indo-Pacific Command area,
Yeah.
a disc-shaped object was seen using a cloud for cover, then emerging and accelerating rapidly. It's like it knew it was being watched and was trying to hide.
That account, along with others, suggests a level of awareness and intentional behavior
Yeah.
on the part of these UAPs.
Right.
They're not just randomly appearing and disappearing.
Right.
They seem to be interacting with their surroundings in ways that are difficult to explain.
So we've got shape-shifting orbs,
Yeah,
triangles messing with electronics,
right.
and discs playing hide-and-seek with clouds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like something out of a science fiction movie,
Yes.
except this is all documented by the military.
Right.
Using sophisticated equipment.
Right, and that's what makes this so compelling.
Right.
These aren't just anecdotal accounts from random people.
Right.
These are trained military personnel, people whose job it is to identify and assess potential threats,
Right.
reporting on phenomena that are beyond their understanding.
Yeah, and they didn't just observe these things from a distance. The
Right.
document details what they call close encounters, where military personnel had direct interactions with UAPs. For example, there's an account of an F-22, one of the most advanced fighter jets in the world, intercepting multiple UAPs over the Atlantic.
Okay.
And get this,
Yeah.
the UAPs outmaneuvered the F-22
Wow.
with impossible speed and agility.
Really?
The pilot reported that they made sudden stops and changes in direction that no conventional aircraft could replicate.
So this isn't just about seeing something weird in the sky.
Yeah.
This suggests technology that's far beyond anything we have.
Exactly.
And that raises a whole host of questions.
Yeah.
Where did this technology come from?
Right.
What are the intentions of those who possess it? And what does it mean for our understanding of our place in the universe?
I'm guessing the document doesn't provide all the answers.
It does not.
Yeah.
But it does offer some tantalizing clues.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Welcome back. Before we get into some of the really strange stuff in this document,
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand just how seriously some nations are taking this whole UAP phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
The document mentions that certain countries have actually attempted to, shoot down these UAPs.
Wait, seriously? They tried to take them out?
Yeah.
And what it was like shooting at ghosts or something? Did anything hit?
Well, the document doesn't give specifics on every attempt,
Right.
but it does say that these efforts were unsuccessful,
Wow.
which when you think about it is even more unsettling
Right.
than if they just blown one of these things out of the sky.
Yeah, if something can just ignore our best weapons,
Right.
that definitely shifts things into a whole new category of weird and maybe dangerous.
Right. And this is where the documents focus on signals intelligence
Oh,
comes in.
okay.
It suggests that some countries are not just trying to understand UAPs,
Right.
but maybe trying to control or weaponize them.
Hold on, are we talking about a potential UAP arms race here?
Well, maybe not that dramatic,
Okay.
but the implications are pretty serious. If even one nation sees these UAPs as something they can exploit for military advantage,
Yeah.
it changes the whole global landscape.
Right.
It's no longer just about scientific curiosity.
Right.
It's about national security.
Which makes you wonder if other countries are already trying to weaponize this tech. Where does the U.S. stand?
Right.
Are we just playing catch up?
That's a question the document sort of dances around but never fully answers.
Okay.
It does mention claims that Luis Elizondo, who headed up another UAP investigation program,
Right.
was prevented from sharing certain information.
So maybe there's some shady stuff going on behind the scenes.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
The document raises more questions about transparency
Okay.
than it answers
Right.
wild secrecy. What are they not telling us?
Okay, let's shift gears for a minute and get back to the UAPs themselves.
Right.
The document goes into a lot of detail
Yeah.
about the different types that have been observed. And
Right.
it's not just your typical flying saucer stereotype.
Right. The variety is one of the most fascinating aspects of this whole phenomenon.
Yeah.
The document breaks them down into categories based on their shape.
Okay.
Spheres, discs, tic-tacs, triangles, boomerangs,
Wow.
and those that are just too bizarre to categorize,
Okay.
which they call irregulars.
It's like a whole alien zoo out there.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's start with the spheres.
Okay.
Are we talking about your average beach ball here?
Not exactly.
Okay.
The document describes spheres ranging in size from small marble-sized objects to those several meters in diameter.
Wow.
And they don't just float around aimlessly.
Right.
They've been observed hovering silently,
Okay.
moving at incredible speeds, even changing directions
Yeah.
abruptly.
So imagine you're out on a night hike, you look up and there's this glowing orb
Yeah.
just zipping around as if it doesn't care about gravity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be a mind-blowing experience.
And keep in mind, these aren't just blurry lights in the sky.
Right.
The document emphasizes that many of these spheres have features that suggest a deliberate design.
Okay.
Smooth, polished surfaces, even appendages
Hmm.
that extend and retract.
Ah.
It's like they were engineered,
Right.
not just random phenomena.
Okay, moving on to the discs.
All right.
Those are probably what most people picture
Right.
when they think of UFOs, right?
Exactly. And the document describes discs of all sizes,
Okay.
from a few meters across to some that are over 20 meters in diameter.
Wow.
And their behavior is just as varied.
Right.
They can hover silently 1 minute, then suddenly dart off at incredible speeds the next.
So they can chill out and then suddenly pull a supersonic disappearing act.
Exactly.
I guess that explains why we don't have any clear photos of these things.
And here's the other thing.
Yeah.
While some disc sightings involve visual confirmation,
Right.
A lot of the reports come from radar detections,
Okay.
so we might not even be seeing all of them.
Invisible flying saucers. That's taking things to a whole new level of weird.
It is.
All right, what about the Tic Tacs?
Okay.
I'm picturing a giant mint flying around.
Well, the shape is similar, but that's where the resemblance ends.
Okay.
The document describes Tic Tacs as typically being white or silver,
Okay.
smooth, with no visible signs of propulsion
Right.
or control surfaces.
Okay.
No wings, no engines, nothing.
So how do they move? Do they just teleport or something?
That's the mystery.
Yeah.
They've been observed hovering motionless for extended periods, then suddenly accelerating to incredible speeds,
Wow.
making sharp turns without slowing down,
It's like,
without making a sound.
yeah.
It's as if they're not even bound by the laws of physics as we understand them.
Okay, I'm officially creeped out.
Okay.
Let's move on to something a little less physics bending.
All right.
What about the triangles? Are we talking about your average geometry textbook triangle here?
Not quite.
Okay.
These are massive,
Okay.
sometimes reaching the size of a football field,
Wow.
and they're often described as having lights, sometimes white, sometimes red that twinkle across their surface.
Okay, that's officially back in creepy territory.
Right.
A football field-sized triangle with twinkling lights. I mean, it sounds like something out of a Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
What else do we know about them?
Well, they're known to be fast capable of speeds that exceed even our most advanced fighter jets.
Wow.
And like some of the other types, they often move silently without creating sonic booms.
Yeah.
But what makes them particularly concerning is their potential to affect electronic systems.
Right, we talked about those electromagnetic effects earlier, so
Yeah.
they're not just big and fast. They might also be capable of messing with our technology.
Right.
That's not a comforting thought.
It's not.
All right, next up we have the boomerangs.
Okay.
Are we talking about the Australian throwing stick?
Well, the shape is similar, but these boomerang-shaped UAPs are a bit more advanced.
Okay.
They could be over 30 meters in wingspan.
Wow.
That's bigger than some airplanes.
So giant flying boomerangs.
Wow.
What else do we know about them?
Well, they're typically observed gliding at low speeds, often blending in with the night sky.
Okay.
But like the others,
Yeah.
they're capable of sudden bursts of speed.
Okay.
And here's the interesting part.
Yeah.
They sometimes emit electromagnetic pulses,
Okay.
particularly when making sharp turns.
More electronic weirdness? Is there a pattern here?
It's definitely a recurring theme.
Yeah.
And finally, we have the most mysterious category of all,
Okay.
the irregulars.
The irregulars.
These are the ones that defy easy categorization,
Okay.
with shapes that are described as amorphous or fluid.
Huh.
Think less like a solid object and more like a
blob.
A blob! That's not very intimidating. Don't let the shape fool you.
Okay.
These blobs are anything but simple.
Okay.
They've been observed maneuvering in complex patterns, demonstrating a level of agility that seems impossible for something without a rigid structure.
So we've got spheres that zoom around disks, that disappear tic-tacs, that defy physics. Giant triangles that mess with electronics, boomerangs that emit pulses and blobs that are more agile than they look.
That's right.
It's like a whole alien circus out there.
And that's just based on the most common reports.
Right.
The document hints that there are even more unusual UAPs out there.
Wow.
Things that are so strange, they defy description.
Wow.
But it's not just about cataloging shapes and sizes. The document also includes firsthand accounts
Yeah.
from military personnel
Right.
who have encountered these UAPs up close.
That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
Let's hear some of those stories. Okay, so we've talked about the different types of UAPs and their strange behaviors,
Right.
and the fact that some countries are taking a pretty aggressive approach to dealing with them.
Yeah.
But now I want to hear about those close encounters.
Right.
What was it actually like for the people who saw these things up close?
Well, the document includes some pretty vivid accounts from military personnel, and they really give you a sense of the awe, the confusion,
Yeah.
and sometimes even fear
Right.
that these encounters evoke.
Yeah.
One that stood out to me involved a sighting from the flight deck of an aircraft carrier
Oh, wow.
in the Pacific.
Okay.
Imagine you're out there focused on your tasks when suddenly a bright orange sphere appears,
Yeah.
just hovering at a medium altitude.
I'd probably assume it was some kind of weather balloon or drone at first.
That's what the crew thought too.
Okay.
But then this sphere does something totally unexpected.
Okay.
It rapidly descends,
Wow.
stopping just above the surface of the water,
Really?
hangs out there for a bit,
Wow.
then shoots back up to its original altitude
Wow.
and disappears into the clouds.
Okay, that's definitely not a weather balloon.
No.
What did the crew make of it?
The document says they were shaken.
Yeah.
They had no explanation for what they'd seen.
Right.
And the speed and maneuverability of the object were far beyond anything they'd ever encountered before.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's one thing to see a weird blip on a radar screen,
Right.
but to actually witness something like that with your own eyes,
Right.
that's got to be a reality-shifting experience.
Yeah.
What other encounters are detailed in the document?
Well, there's one involving an F-22 pilot
Okay.
who intercepted multiple UAPs over the Atlantic.
Okay.
He described them as metallic orbs,
Okay.
much smaller than his jet,
Right.
but moving incredibly fast.
Right.
He tried to engage, but they outmaneuvered him with ease,
Wow.
making sudden stops and changes in direction
Right.
that defied physics.
We talked earlier about how some of these UAPs seem to be capable of messing with electronics.
Yeah.
Did this pilot experience anything like that?
Actually, he didn't report any electronic malfunctions,
Okay.
but there's another account, this one involving a perimeter breach
Okay.
at a military airfield,
Right.
that really highlights that aspect.
Okay.
Late one night, ground personnel reported a small spherical UAP
Okay.
entering the airspace above the base. They described it as a blurry sphere surrounded by distorted light.
So not only are these things potentially technologically advanced,
Right.
but they're also bold enough to intrude on secure military facilities.
That's what's so unsettling about this particular incident.
Yeah.
The UAP hovered over the base for several minutes before disappearing.
Wow.
The personnel who witnessed it reported feeling a sense of unease and anxiety.
Yeah.
And it raised serious questions about security vulnerabilities.
It's one thing to have these encounters out in the open ocean or high in the sky,
Right.
but the idea that they can just waltz into restricted airspace, that's a
Yeah.
whole other level of concerning.
Absolutely. And these are just a few of the many firsthand accounts included in the document.
Yeah.
They paint a picture of a phenomenon that's not just real,
Right.
but one that's being witnessed and experienced by people from all walks of life,
Yeah.
including highly trained military personnel.
You know, after diving into all this information, I have to admit, I'm both fascinated and a little freaked out. We've got these strange objects exhibiting technology that seems beyond our understanding.
Right.
They're being investigated at the highest levels of government.
Right.
And some countries are even trying to weaponize them.
Yeah.
It's like something out of a science fiction novel, but it's happening right now
Right.
in our world.
It's definitely a lot to process, and the truth is, we're still just scratching the surface of understanding this phenomenon.
Right.
This document raises far more questions than it answers.
Like, what are the intentions of these UAPs? Are they a threat?
Right.
Are they just curious about us? Or is there something else going on that we can't even comprehend?
Those are questions that scientists, philosophers, and everyday people like you and me have been pondering for decades.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have definitive answers yet.
But that's what makes this so intriguing, right?
Yeah.
The mystery, the unknown.
Absolutely.
It challenges us to expand our thinking and consider possibilities that we might have previously dismissed.
Exactly. This document is a call to awareness, an invitation to engage in open-minded inquiry,
Right.
and to demand greater transparency from those who might have more information than they're letting on.
Well, I think we've done a pretty thorough job of unpacking this UFO.pdf document, wouldn't you say?
We've certainly covered a lot of ground,
Yeah.
from the different types of UAPs and their strange behaviors,
Right.
to the potential implications for national security and our understanding of the universe.
Right.
There's a lot to think about here.
We've gone from grainy photos and shaky videos
Right.
to sophisticated government investigations and firsthand accounts from military personnel.
Exactly.
And I think the biggest takeaway for you listening is that this isn't just about blurry lights in the sky anymore.
No.
This is a real phenomenon, one that's being taken very seriously by governments around the world.
And one that has the potential to change our understanding of our place in the universe.
Absolutely.
Who knows what new discoveries and revelations await us as we continue to explore this mystery. But one thing is certain, the more we learn about UAPs, the more we realize how much we don't know.
Well said. And on that note, we encourage you to explore the source document yourself, armed with the context and insights we've shared today.
Absolutely.
Keep your eyes on the skies and your minds open to the possibilities until next time. Stay curious